Hey, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I drove my truck 80,000 miles in a 12-month period with 0 breakdowns. There's that quote by Mike Tyson where he says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I feel like that's how owning a car is. You kind of have a plan, you try to make a budget for certain things, and most of the time the car or truck is just like, nah, and throws a fit and a bunch of stuff breaks and you're like, why am I bothering with this thing? I went in for an inspection in September and passed, and the tech who had been looking over the truck came in and was like, holy shit, man. And I was like, what? What's wrong? Immediately I'm like, oh no. Like, what happened? What does the truck need? I was like, oh boy, I didn't think it needed anything. That was probably the wrong attitude. He goes, the last time you were in here for an inspection, the truck only had 102,000 miles on it. He was like, it has 185 now. He's like, you did 80,000 since last year? And I was like, well, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I guess. And the more I thought about it on the way home, I realized, yeah, I did 80,000 miles and I did not have a single breakdown. Now, I want to differentiate between like a breakdown and an issue, because certainly had issues, but nothing that left me stranded by the side of the road. And the main thing I learned, or I should say the thing I implemented that I want to share, is that I really believe the best way to get ahead of things is to assume the worst and plan for the worst and be proactive. Just because of entropy and the way the universe works, your car is pretty much always going to have something that needs done to it. So what does this look like for you? How can you drive high miles or get high miles out of your vehicle and still not have to worry about getting stuck on the side of the road? So these are some kind of practical implementation things. And obviously, number one is having the right stuff to change a tire, and having stuff to change one quickly and comfortably. Like, they give you a little piddly jack, a bottle jack in the back of these trucks, and like a tire iron and some junk. But like, if it's 20 degrees out and snowing and you get a flat tire and you're stuck by the side of the road, do you really want to use a piddly bottle jack? No. You want to get out there and swap the tire out with your spare in like 5 minutes, and you don't want to have to worry about it. So like that instance, that scenario, like, think about where you live. What's the worst case that can happen? In the wintertime, I also carry, in case of breakdowns, a 0-degree sleeping bag, because if the engine does go, which it could, it's possible, and I don't have heat and I'm stuck on the side of the road, I need to be able to stay warm. Same thing with having a high-vis vest. You don't want to get hit if, maybe you're having trouble getting your vehicle off the road, whatever. Same thing goes for having flares or the safety triangles and a first aid kit. All of that stuff is super helpful, and that's kind of like the physical things you can do. The second one is pretty obvious. It's just doing preventative maintenance, doing the easy stuff. And that isn't just changing your oil or rotating your tires or whatever. It's also inspecting the truck to make sure that everything's working well. If you're rotating your tires, or if you're having a shop do it, like, are you checking your wheel bearings? Are you checking the tires when you rotate them, looking for nails and debris that's gotten stuck in the tire that would cause you to flat? Are you checking your brake pads regularly? It's so much easier to see something and be like, that looks off, probably should look into that in the next month, than have it be like, oh no, I hear my brake pads, it sounds like metal on metal, I now need to schedule that, and it's going to be a week, and I haven't made accommodations, and whatever. It's just that end of the proactive spectrum, where instead of just, again, preparing for an emergency, then there's also preventing the emergency. If you can do both things, prepare for the emergency and work to prevent the emergency, chances are you'll be able to do what I did and drive 80K with 0 issues in a 12-month period. And that was driving in the wintertime. I got stuck in Indianapolis in a snowstorm, you know, and instead of trying to drive through the snow and ice from Indianapolis back to St. Louis, I got a hotel and I stuck it out and waited for them to salt. And it was still sketchy driving home the next day. But again, it's all about what you can do to mitigate those risks. And, you know, I'll be honest, like, shit's still going to happen. You know, I still ended up pulling over the few times I got the engine code to pull the code when I was towing trailers through the Midwest and had the issue with the regen frequency and the biodiesel and all that. But the truck has never left me stranded by the side of the road. So, again, I'm not a huge Ford fan. If you follow this channel, I love to smack talk Ford. I will smack talk any brand because I think manufacturing quality these days in general is super low. There's not a single vehicle out there that doesn't have its own issues. It's just buy the one that's right for you and then make yourself aware of the issues and the shortcomings and fix them with the aftermarket supply that's out there. So by doing those two things, you too can drive 80,000 miles in a 12-month period, problem-free, no matter what vehicle you're using or driving. This has been Power Stroke Maintenance, and we'll see you next week here on the channel. Cheers.